Hello again, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of This Week in the World of Football. Why? Because this is episode number 300 for June 13th, 2023, and I'm your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, the Canadian Football League regular season has begun, and Division II's Ferris State University gets invited to the White House. In this week's history lesson, we tell the story of NFL and college coaches who have all earned over 400 career wins.
300 career wins.
What did I say, 400?
Yep, you said 400.
Oh, 300 career wins.
Man, you think after 300 episodes he'd be used to doing this, but man, oh man, you put a camera in front of him and it's a different story.
Yeah, it is. All right, so yeah, 300 career wins. So the whole theme of today's show is the number 300. So let's continue.
Okay.
But I'm not here by myself. Across the table from me is my son, Adam.
Yes, I am here, and if you are watching, we do have a video version of this that'll go up. Because we figured 300 episodes, shoot, why not commemorate our 300th podcast with a video version, so you can find that on YouTube, or if you're watching it on YouTube, you can find us on all available podcasting platforms, which Randy will list off in a minute. And keeping up with the theme of 300, if you look at my camera during the show, I might be ingesting 300 calories worth of cake every time you look at me on the screen. You just might.
Oh, God.
I have a piece of cake with me today, so I'm ready to chow down during this show to celebrate.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain over there. We come to you each week from the World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football.
And cake.
All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcasts. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. You can also find our podcast in its full audio form on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@theworldoffootball, as well as other selected videos, like last week when we did our history lesson on the history of the Arena Football League.
Yep, you can find that.
Yep. So let's begin today's show with Adam and the World of Football scoreboard.
That's right. Come along with me for the 300th time as we go down the scoreboard. Also, you're dressed very nice today. It's not often Randy showers and shaves for a podcast.
I'm actually wearing a shirt with a collar instead of a t-shirt.
It's very weird. And I'm dressed like the guy from Jurassic Park. So
you Weird Al wannabe.
Whoa, hey. Just beat it, okay?
That's not a bad thing to be.
Yeah, I love Weird Al. All right, so let's begin. It was week 1 of the Canadian Football League's regular season. Welcome back, CFL.
Oh,
we have missed you so
much fun.
And everything got kicked off on Thursday night, which saw the British Columbia Lions defeat the Calgary Stampeders 25-15. British Columbia ended up being up 13-3 going into halftime, with British Columbia quarterback Vernon Adams completing 28 passes for 270 yards and 2 touchdowns during the game, while wide receiver Dominique Rhymes caught 8 passes for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. For Calgary, quarterback Jake Mayer completed 20 passes for 154 yards and a touchdown, while Calgary kicker Rene Paredes.
Rene Paredes.
You definitely misspelled his first name. It's Rene Paredes.
But you know that. You were talking about him all last season.
I know. I love him.
Rene
That's
Paredes.
why when you misspelled his first name, I was like, wait a minute. Here's a roadblock.
I knew what I was writing.
But you still misspelled it. Paredes is correct. His first name is not.
Oh, yeah.
He missed his first 2 field goals of the game, and then he connected on a 52-yarder in the fourth quarter. So, hey, everybody's got to knock off a little rust, even though you only got a couple preseason games.
It's game 1 of the season.
But congratulations to British Columbia for coming out and getting that win.
Now, this was a Thursday night game, and I actually watched this game for most of the first quarter, and then I fell asleep because this was Thursday night football, and I woke up when it was all over. So I tried to stay up and watch it, but I just couldn't.
Was that on the CFL Plus app, or was that?
This was on CBS
Sportsnet broadcast. Okay.
This one and the third game of the weekend. That one I watched also.
Okay. All right, then on Friday night, we had the Winnipeg Blue Bombers defeat the Hamilton Tiger Cats in a great game here. Final score being 42-31 in favor of the Blue Bombers. According to you, best highlights of the week. Man, everything I saw from this game was crazy.
Great highlights. So many things.
Yeah, Winnipeg was up 29-4 going into halftime. And even before that, in the first quarter, Quarterback Zach Collaros of Winnipeg threw 3 touchdown passes in a single quarter.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
The last one came as time expired.
Well, the time was already expired. There was already zeros on the clock to get the extra play in the CFL, so they had the extra play.
Didn't run out,
What was it, like a 50-yard?
Oh,
it was a long play.
Yeah.
But, so Winnipeg back to doing what they do. They've been consistently probably the best team the last few years, despite losing in a crazy Grey Cup game at the end of the last season. But Zach Collaros, picking up where he pretty much left off. He finished the game with 21 completions for 354 yards and those 3 touchdowns he threw in the first quarter. So he didn't do a whole lot after that.
Touchdowns, but that was a hell of a first quarter.
It was a heck of a first quarter. Running back Brady Oliveira ran the ball 22 times for 106 yards and a touchdown, while wide receiver Nick Dembski caught 6 passes for 113 yards and a touchdown. But for Hamilton, brand new quarterback Bo Levi Mitchell, who was just signed during the offseason, completed 17 passes for 197 yards and a touchdown. And something that we didn't really mention during the offseason for the CFL, but quarterback carousel, my goodness. They showed a graphic. You took a picture of it.
I have it coming up in the script.
Oh, do you have it coming up in the script? Okay, well then I guess I'll hold off and wait.
Yeah, the bottom line is, of the 9 teams, only 1 quarterback is the same from last year. A lot of swapping of teams, and some people left. So 8 new starters, and 1 guy that's still there.
And that was Zach Collaros.
Yeah. There's a reason he's still there.
Yep. All right, and then on Saturday, Montreal, the Alouettes got a win over the Ottawa Red Blacks. 19-12. Montreal was up 10-6 at halftime. A referee in this game was working his 300th game. How about that this week?
The theme is 300. I've had so many run-ins with the number 300 this past week.
Did you watch the movie 300?
No, I did not.
Maybe you should.
I did not.
Complete it.
But yeah, I just thought that was so strange when they mentioned, a referee, whatever his name was, I didn't catch it, is working his 300th game tonight. And I'm like,
I feel like
oh my gosh.
Very important information you should have wrote down. When you get slapped by in the face by destiny and chance and all that fate, this referee had his 300th game. Well, I won't bother writing his name down. That's not important. Okay, Randy.
The number 300 is what is important this week. So.
Oh yeah, screw you, Mr. Referee. Just the fact that you did 300 games is important,
right.
Not your name.
That's right.
That's how Randy Snow operates, everybody.
Keep going.
All right. Anyway, Montreal quarterback Cody Fajardo, another quarterback. He played with Saskatchewan last year. Now he's a Alouette. Completed 14 passes for 261 yards and 0 touchdowns. He did run the ball 5 times for 15 yards and scored a touchdown. Wide receiver Austin Mack caught 4 passes for 120 yards, but no touchdowns. Then for Ottawa, quarterback Nick Arbuckle completed 19 passes for 176 yards, no touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Montreal players had the Canadian flag. Oh, that's right. You were telling me about this during the game. Montreal players had the Canadian flag on their helmet,
which everybody does in the CFL,
as well as the flag of Quebec on the other one on the backside of the helmet. You were saying, what is that flag?
Yeah, I didn't even know what it was. I had to look it up, and it's amazing. I had this little thing in my hand, called a cell phone, where I could look up anything on the internet, and ran across flags of the world, and I found that was the Quebec flag.
It still baffles me sometimes that we'll be talking and you'll have your phone right there on you. I'm like, well, look it up. Why are you asking me? Like, I know the answer. You have a phone? Look it up. You have a global telecommunication device in your pocket. Look it up.
Montreal has a new owner this year, and I think he's very pro-Quebec. So I think it's great. I think maybe some of the other, I always wondered why they didn't let American players put the American flag along with the Canadian flag on the back, so that you might know who's an American or who's not. But that's fine. They've all got the Canadian flag on the back of their helmets, just like.
But have you watched enough Montreal football games to say that they've already?
I'm pretty sure this. I've never noticed this before, so I think if they had done it in years past, I would have seen it.
Well,
before.
If we know any Montreal Alouette fans out there, let us know and correct us, please. We love being. He loves being corrected. That's the one you want. All right, and our final game of the weekend on Sunday saw the Saskatchewan Roughriders defeat the Edmonton Elks 17-13. This game was tied going into the half at 10 apiece. Saskatchewan quarterback Trevor Harris completed 20 passes for 179 yards and a touchdown. Then for Edmonton, quarterback Taylor Cornelius completed 13 passes for 202 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Eugene Lewis caught 5 passes for 148 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown came in the second quarter and went for 102 yards.
Did you see the highlight of this? I can't remember
I might have missed this one.
I think I retweeted the highlight.
Okay.
But they snapped the ball at their own 8-yard line, and he caught it about midfield. It's a 110-yard field, of course, up in Canada. He caught it about midfield. He kind of like wrestled it away from the defender, and once he got away from that, he ran the last 55 yards untouched. Nobody was even around. That was an awesome play. So, yeah, 102 yards on that one touchdown pass.
Heck yeah. And then, of course, on bye this week, my beloved Toronto Argonauts, the defending Grey Cup champions, the only team on bye this week.
Yeah, we'll see them next week with their new powder blue uniforms.
Yeah, very excited.
Yep.
And as we mentioned earlier, the quarterback carousel that happened in the CFL this offseason, we're going to quickly run through those. Cody Fajardo went from Saskatchewan to Montreal as their starter.
Yep.
Vernon Adams went from Montreal to British Columbia. Bo Levi Mitchell went from Calgary to not Toronto, he went to Hamilton.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nick Arbuckle went from Edmonton to Ottawa. And Zach Caleros stayed put in Winnipeg.
Yeah, and then the other teams, like, who's the other guy? McLeod Bethel Thompson, he's with the USFL now. So he was with Toronto last year. So, like I said, out of the 9 teams, 8 of them have new starters this year. And Zach Caleros, still a starter in Winnipeg.
All right, we're going to move on to the scoreboard. It is week 9 in the USFL we just had. And that started Saturday with a doubleheader with the Pittsburgh Maulers defeating the Michigan Panthers 19-7. Maulers quarterback Trey Williams completed 14 passes for 166 yards and a touchdown, while Panthers quarterback Josh Love completed 19 passes for 233 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, I don't know about the Panthers making the playoffs now. They really needed to win, last week. 1 week to go. When you see the standings, yes, it doesn't look good.
The standings don't look good, but there's a lot in play.
Yeah.
All right, then also Saturday, the New Orleans Breakers manhandled the Memphis Showboats, who had been on a 5-game winning streak to this point, 31-3. So they really shellacked them.
Yep.
Breakers quarterback and former CFL quarterback McLeod Bethel Thompson completed just 9 passes during the game for 88 yards and a touchdown. Showboats quarterback Cole Kelly completed 23 passes for 224 yards and no touchdowns.
Yeah.
Then on Sunday, a doubleheader there as the Birmingham Stallions defeated the Houston Gamblers 38-15. Stallions quarterback Alex Magoo completed 13 passes for 208 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Gamblers quarterback Kenji Bahar completed 20 passes for 149 yards and no touchdowns. Then on Sunday, probably your game of the week for the USFL, the New Jersey Generals defeated the Philadelphia Stars 37-33. Generals quarterback DeAndre Johnson completed 15 passes for 213 yards and 0 touchdowns, while wide receiver Darrell Stewart caught just 3 passes for 109 yards and 0 touchdowns. Stars quarterback Case Cookus completed 25 passes for 263 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also ran the ball 7 times for another 59 yards, while wide receiver Corey Coleman caught 9 passes for 98 yards and a touchdown. So that brings us to the USFL standings. In the North, it is anybody's division. They got, essentially, it's a win and you're in weekend coming up for the North Division. The Philadelphia Stars at the top of the division with a sub-500 4-5 record.
Yep.
The New Jersey Generals, Pittsburgh Maulers, and Michigan Panthers all sit at 3-6, but the Generals, due to tiebreakers, are currently sitting in that number 2 seed right now. In the South, the Birmingham Stallions with a commanding 7-2 record. I believe they've already clinched their playoff spot and will play in the South Division Championship game. New Orleans sits at 6-3, while the Houston Gamblers and Memphis Showboats both sit at 5-4. And that second seed's still up for grabs. So a lot to play for going into next week. So
Do you notice anything in these standings?
Yeah, the North sucks.
Well, everybody in the South has a better record. The worst team in the South has a better record than the best team in the North.
That's what I've been saying is a problem right now with some of these spring leagues, is this could happen.
Yeah.
I get why I went into it last week, so I'm not going to go into great detail again, but this is why you can't just split them into divisions and that's how you put your playoffs together. It's just the best teams are all in the South.
I got 2 words for you. Arlington Renegades.
That's true. True.
They were not supposed to win.
I did the same song and dance for the XFL.
Record, but yeah.
I get it. I would still make that argument despite that result, but I just think you want your best teams. It doesn't matter. You could still get a Cinderella story, sure, but it doesn't sit right with me.
It's a simple format.
It's an 8-team league. Why are we dividing it up like that? Just seed them 1 to 8, top 4 teams get in regardless. Like, that's how it should be.
No.
Whatever. I'm going to die on that hill. If you have a league that's less than 8 teams, that's how it should be. I'm sorry. All right, moving on. The Indoor Football League was in Week 13 of their regular season. Friday night saw the Green Bay Blizzard defeat the Quad City Steamwheelers 45-38. On Saturday, the Massachusetts Pirates defeated the Vegas Nighthawks 49-28. The Frisco Fighters defeated the Sioux Falls Storm 54-51, getting a 19-yard field goal as time expired to get that victory.
Yeah.
Then the Iowa Barnstormers defeated the Tulsa Oilers 48-40. The Tucson Sugar Skulls defeated the Duke City Gladiators 47-43. The Arizona Rattlers won a high-flying game against the Bay Area Panthers 70-63. And then the Northern Arizona Wranglers defeated the San Diego Strike Force in a very close game and low scoring, 38-36. Nobody was on bye this week. Everybody was in action. And we now look at the Indoor Football League standings, which I have been begging Randy to do for weeks now. In the East Division, see, this is what you can do when you have more than 8 teams. In the East, the Frisco Fighters lead the way with a 9-2 record, followed by the Massachusetts Pirates at 8-3. The Quad City Steamwheelers sit at 7-4, while the Green Bay Blizzard sit at 6-5. The Sioux Falls Storm at 5-5. The Iowa Barnstormers at 2-9, and the Tulsa Oilers at 1-10. In the West Division, the Bay Area Panthers and Arizona Rattlers are at the top of the division with 7-4 records, followed by the Tucson Sugar Skulls at 6-4. The defending champion, Northern Arizona Wranglers, sitting with a 6-5 record. And then with a 4-7 record, we have 3 teams, the San Diego Strike Force, Duke City Gladiators, and Vegas Nighthawks, all rounding out the West Division. And with that, I'm sure we're all tired of hearing my voice, seeing my face. We're going to throw it over to Randy, who has the CIF semifinal scores.
Yes, Champions Indoor Football. This was the semifinal round this past weekend. 2 games on Saturday. The Omaha Beef defeated the Billings Outlaws 42-6. And in the other game, it was the Salina Liberty over the Gillette Mustangs 37-30. So that sets up this Saturday's championship game, Champions Bowl 8, between the 9-2 Salina Liberty and the 11-0 undefeated Omaha Beef. And moving to some National Arena League scores. Did we mention that there's 21 games that we're reporting on this week?
Probably not.
Yeah, 21 games this week.
I was too busy thinking about cake.
Because we added a game from Mexico, a championship game, which we'll talk about here in a moment. But it was Week 10 in the National Arena League. On Friday night, it was the Orlando Predators all over the Albany Empire, 68-24, the 6th straight loss for the Empire. Owner Antonio Brown says he plans to play next week at home versus the Jacksonville Sharks. Yeah, right.
Yeah, we'll believe it when we see it.
He said that a couple weeks ago, too, so we'll see if he actually suits up next week
I don't believe it.
for his team. I don't know. I think it's just a ploy to get fans in the stands.
If Antonio Brown shows up to play in a game, I mean actually play, not just show up in a uniform.
Put your fork down.
No. I'll eat an entire grocery store cake on air if Antonio Brown plays.
Oh, really?
I'm going to put that out there just because I actually like eating cake right now on the podcast. It's actually a dream I never knew I needed or wanted.
Eating cake on a podcast.
Eating cake on a podcast, and there's a video of it to prove it. So
okay.
That, and I talk with my hands a lot. And having a fork in my hand helps.
Yeah, don't point that towards me. Okay. Let's see.
Oh, getting frazzled, are you?
2 games on Saturday. Shut up. 2 games on Saturday. The Jacksonville Sharks over the Fayetteville Mustangs, 63-36, and it was the Carolina Cobras over the West Texas Warbirds, 86-59. On bye were the San Antonio Gunslingers. Looking at the National Arena League standings now, you have the San Antonio Gunslingers at 6-1, the Jacksonville Sharks at 6-2. The Carolina Cobras at 5-2, Fayetteville Mustangs at 4-4, and rounding out the list is the Orlando Predators at 2-5, West Texas Warbirds at 2-6, and the Albany Empire at 1-6. They won their first game of the season, and they've lost every game since. They're on a 6-game losing streak.
Man, oh man.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens next week.
Is having Antonio Brown on your roster just enough to get them into the playoffs, though?
Jeez. I don't think so. I
wonder if he thinks that.
I think the playoffs are
out of the question.
Out of the question this year. Yeah.
Yeah, that organization's got a lot more to worry about than playoffs right now. To be honest with you.
And yeah, that's sad to see because, man, they've
Yeah.
won so many championships in the
Yeah.
AFL. And
They were a great
IFL.
organization.
Yep.
Keyword were.
And the 21st game of the weekend, this was a league that you've been talking about.
Yeah.
You wanted more coverage, so I
Yeah.
wanted to look this up. Mexico Six Bowl.
In the Liga de Futbol Americano, I
Yeah,
believe
LFA.
is how you pronounce it.
Yep.
The LFA.
Yep. It was the Caudillos, which is, I guess, Spanish for warlords. They shut out the Dinos by the score of 10-0 in the championship game. I guess they lost in the championship game last year, so this was a little bit of revenge for them. They had an undefeated season, the Caudillos did. They finished the season with a 11-0 record.
And they did. I saw a little bit from the game. Obviously, not a very high-scoring game.
Right.
But, I mean, to go undefeated and, to claim a championship, hey, congratulations to the Caudillos.
Now, you follow them on Instagram.
On Instagram, that's how I discovered them, yeah.
Okay, but I went to their website, and of course, when you first go there, it's all in Spanish.
Of course.
But up in the corner, there's a little button where you can click for the English version.
Yeah.
So I did that, so I was able to read a lot of stuff.
It's the same with their Instagram posts. You can translate that because it's always in Spanish,
Yeah.
so I always have to translate it to...
But I was looking for an actual article, saying, Caudillos win, championship game. And I found no articles. And then I realized that they actually had a link to the YouTube video of the entire game, like a 3-hour video. And so I started that up, and I FF'd all the way to the end to see who won and what the final score was. And they were talking to some players after the game, some in Spanish, some in English. I guess a lot of American players play down there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
This is the league I've been trying to get us to cover on this show, and we might have to throw it on the pile. So
Yeah, well, we'll see what we can do next season. We'll start from the beginning, and we'll follow some of the teams. And,
I'm down.
maybe you and I will pick out a favorite team next year.
Maybe This is a league that it's hard. Like I said, I always see a post every once in a while on Instagram, but I don't know if I could find and just pick a team yet.
Yeah. Well, since I don't do Instagram, then I haven't seen much.
Oh,
of this.
yet.
I've
Wait till
seen
we get the
logo.
World of Football Instagram up and rolling.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that. Well, that's it for this week's World of Football scoreboard. So we're going to move on to some NFL news. Tampa Bay will wear their throwback creamsicle uniforms this season. Of course, we've kind of known that, but now we know the date and who they're going to play. October 15th against our Detroit Lions.
Alrighty, what a great uniform matchup that's going to be.
You sent me a link to a little video, and they had lots of highlights of the Lions and Buccaneers playing, and the Buccaneers had their creamsicle uniforms back in the day when they were part of the NFC North division.
Central.
Yes, now it's
the North.
Now it's the North. It used to be the Central.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. That'll be fun to see those uniforms.
The only thing that would make it better is if the Lions were to break out those throwbacks. Not that they would, and I don't think they're gonna.
No.
But even the way the Lions uniforms are now aren't much different.
Yeah.
Just slight tweaks over the years, but I think that's still gonna be a great uniform matchup. Our white and blue uniform against their creamsicle, and
that was a great look. When I was watching,
it's
some
a
of those
terrible
highlights.
look, but for whatever reason,
I
it's
liked
just
it.
I've never dug it, but I think it. Over the years, you're like, you know what? That's so bad, it's good. That's how I feel about the Buccaneers. You got a mini helmet actually.
Yeah, I got the throwbacks.
Bucs helmet.
I don't have very many current NFL helmets, but I do have several of the throwbacks.
Yeah, last week we talked about Seattle. They're bringing the Seattle one back. You got your Buccaneers one right there. Now we just need. I believe the Patriots are bringing theirs back this year.
Yep.
We're just waiting to hear if Denver might bring theirs back. Atlanta's rocking that red helmet. So, throwbacks are in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, what's my motto? Things were always better in the past. So I like the throwback helmets.
Yeah.
All right, last week we were talking about a rumor, and since then that rumor has come true. Bills quarterback Josh Allen will grace the cover of Madden 24.
Yeah. Are you going to finally play it?
No. I don't do video games, you know that.
Man, I think that'll be great content to get you playing a video game. Get you to play Madden and getting frustrated.
I've watched you and your brother Aaron play video games, football before. And what was it, a couple of years ago, we set up a projector outside and we did it on the garage door.
Aaron and I played Madden, yeah.
It was a beautiful summer night, nice and warm, and we just
totally
sat up there in
together.
chairs and we put it on the.
We can go to his house and do it.
Yeah, well, we can't do that anymore because since then we've changed our garage door, so now we've
That's
got.
what I'm saying. We go to his
windows
house and do it. We can get one of those inflatable projector screens.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, some car slowed down. Like, what the hell are they doing? They slowed down to see what we were doing on our garage
Playing
door.
Madden. That's what we were doing.
That was a fun night.
It was. And then I don't know if you saw this, but somebody pointed out some terrible photo. I don't know if it was photoshopped or just the way the helmet was on the picture for Madden. But Josh Allen's face mask has got a bar. You know, like usually there's like a bar that kind of comes across on top of the normal bar. There's like the second bar. It's like halfway cut off. Like the bar just stops and it's just empty, so you can like kind of see his face. So yeah, everybody's been making fun of EA Sports for even releasing that picture of like an unfinished edit of Josh Allen's face mask. Like if that ends up on the final cover, oh, people are gonna lose it. So they probably got a effects team, you know, digitally working on that right now.
And another bit of NFL news, yet another week has come and gone, and still no word on who's going to be on Hard Knocks this year. We talked quite a bit about this last week, that, you know, when Detroit was on it last year, we knew by the time that the schedule came out.
Right.
Well, that was a month ago. And
I read somewhere that said they announced that in like March.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know if teams are fighting being on it or what.
It sounds like it. It sounds like the Jets don't want anything to do with it. I think Robert Saleh said something about not wanting to do it. I don't know, man. One of these teams has to do it.
Yeah.
So we'll find out which team's coming kicking and screaming.
Yeah, maybe next week we'll know who's going to be on Hard Knocks.
For the 5th week in a row, we've said that.
This is another story that you sent me in some XFL news. According to a report in Forbes, or by Forbes, the link you sent me was from ESPN, but they were quoting
Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The XFL lost around $60 million this past season, which, you know, that it sounds bad, but, you know, who's to say that they weren't expecting to lose that much?
Yeah, when you don't look past the headline, it sounds awful. Yeah. And then when you put a sad picture of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson next to that, it looks even sadder.
It's a little misleading. I mean, $60 million is a lot, but, you know, you got to expect that in the first year of anything, that you're going to incur losses. But
especially this podcast, man. Our first year of this podcast, we lost $60 million.
Yeah, we bought a couple of microphone stands, and that was it. We were broke. But Danny Garcia and Dwayne Johnson say that they're in it for the long haul, and they're confident that they can make the league work with the advertisers, sponsors, and TV contracts that they have in place already. They're something that I saw in that article said that they're looking to break $100,000
cash positive by 2027.
$100,000 profit next year.
Wow.
You know, so we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, like I said, cash positive is what I saw by 2027 was their goal. So if that league lasts that long, we'll see what happens. Or if the NFL finally buys out one of these small leagues to finally start their developmental league up again, which we've been, you know, beating the drum for. That's something the NFL should just do.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Well, I see the XFL being around for a couple of years.
At least a couple.
3 or 4 years, if nothing else. You know, if they can't make it after 3 or 4 years, they may go away.
The USFL, I think, you know, have been the spring league. They've been around for quite a while.
They've got the name recognition and the old time fans.
But they've got the infrastructure right now too to support what they do, and they could probably go a few more years. And now that they got the contract with those sports networks, I mean, they're doing good. For a spring league, at least. Yeah.
Well, I haven't. There have been some rumors of expansion, but I haven't paid attention to much of it right now. But the thing is, you know, they went to 4 hub cities this year instead of 1 last year, and Canton was one of them. Well, you know, what's going to happen if they go to all of the cities where they actually have teams, and Canton's not going to be a part of it during the regular season? I wonder if they might think about expanding and having a team in Canton.
Maybe
soon.
Which classic USFL team should become the Canton team?
Well, they should be the Canton Bulldogs, I think, but the NFL would probably balk at that name. But
that's why the NFL should buy up these, you know, spring leagues, have the USFL division, the XFL division, and then create a.
Bring back the Rochester. Independent, or the Rock Island Independence.
Bring back the Independence. Bring back the Dayton Triangles.
Rochester
bring back the Jeffersons. Bring back the
Akron Pros.
Bring back all the old school teams. Come on. This is $1 million, well, in the NFL case, $1 billion idea, Mr. Goodell. I'm just saying.
They don't get out of their chairs for less than $1 billion.
And what other league could they bring back? Then they could have the World Football League, or they could bring back some NFL Europe teams. They've been wanting to go over to Europe. Put a few developmental teams over there for trial for right now.
Well, a lot of the teams in the old NFL Europe are actually being used by another league over there. So they do have the Berlin Thunder.
And we're not covering that league?
No, we're not. At this time, we're not.
Oh, okay.
Somebody brought that up in one of the comments that that we should be covering that because it's the same names of the teams that were in a lot of the German teams anyway. So I don't know. I'd have to learn some more about it. I don't know that much about this European football
If
league.
there's one thing Randy does, it's learn.
I do. I do learn it.
I do learn now.
Sometimes I don't
Randy
want to
said.
learn new things, but other times I do.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to some college news. The Big Ten Conference will expand to 16 teams in 2024. We've all known that, with the addition of USC and UCLA. They're also doing away with the East-West division formats.
About time.
So no more, East versus West. It's going to be the top two teams are going to face off in the Big Ten.
Which is another thing I have been saying for years since they kind of went to this format. It should just be your top two teams. So we're going to get Michigan, Ohio State championship games.
Right, every year.
Every year.
For the next 10 years, yeah.
2 games in a row.
Let's see, the top two teams will face each other in the title game. All the teams will play a 9-game conference schedule with 3 non-conference games. Let's see, many rivalry games have been protected, with the exception of the Michigan-Minnesota game, in which they play for the Little Brown Jug. That is the oldest trophy in all of college football, and that game has not been protected, so they're not going to be playing it every year. I'm sure they'll still be playing, every once in a while, but it's not going to be very frequent anymore. They've got a set pattern of, all right, you're going to these are your opponents for the next 2 years,
right.
Home and away, and then after that, then you're going to get 2 new opponents, home and away. So it could be several years before Michigan and Minnesota.
I wonder if that'll add a little bit to the having the game. I mean, having it every year, it's always special. Like, oh, it's the Little Brown Jug game. But to be honest with you, it's not like every year I'm looking forward to the Little Brown Jug games this weekend. But you do it every couple of years and you hype it up. I think that actually is not a bad way to go. I'm sure there'll be some fan, purists out there who are like, nope, it's got to be every stinking year. It's tradition. That's what he sounds like. It's tradition. It's got to be done. And I can get like that too. But in this case, come on. What kind of ratings is the Little Brown Jug game pulling in? Tell me right now, huh? Not a lot.
I do not sound like I have a mouthful of cake.
You owe it. I feel very offended that you said that right now. Anyway, I really do think that this actually could be a good thing. Like, every couple of years you play that game, and I think you just hype it up. It's been 2 years since we had the Little Brown Jug game. Oh, here we go. Maybe the guys play a little different because, hey, we've held on to this trophy for 2 years. Now we got to put up or shut up.
Yeah, we're going to have to dust it off to bring it out because it's been in our glass case for 8-10 years, and now all of a sudden, now we're going to play for it.
Right. So I think that is the silver lining there. I think that could be a positive. But they use a special term for protecting a lot of those rivalry games, like games that they weren't going to mess with every year. Like, no matter what, you're going to get Michigan, Ohio State.
Yeah,
you're going to get Penn State, Michigan State. You're going to get, they got a bunch of those games lined up.
Right, yeah. I didn't write down that term, but it was something protection.
It was a special term, that they came up with as part of their schedule. It's like one of those catchy, like whenever The Rock gets one of those phrases and he just beats it to death into the ground.
So, like Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State, Michigan. Several of those, I think Maryland and Rutgers was another one that they protected.
Which makes sense. They should protect some of those games. Yeah.
Sure. You got to have those rivalries every year.
And I think USC, UCLA was obviously protected. Like, they're going to play every year no matter what.
Of course.
Which also makes sense because you don't want them traveling. Like, come on, give them one game where they don't have to leave town.
Yeah. And that's such a great game where they both wear their home uniforms.
Yeah, I wish more teams would do that.
That's such a gorgeous game to watch.
More teams should do that.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Okay, finally in college news, Division II's Ferris State University football team from Big Rapids, Michigan, went to the White House on Monday. They've won back-to-back Division II national championships. They are the first Division II team to ever be invited to the White House. This is awesome. Big Rapids is like maybe an hour and a half from here, north, up 131. My brother Bob went to Ferris State. He played in the marching band and got to play in a Detroit Lions game at halftime while he was there. So, Ferris State's always been a big deal with our family because my brother Bob.
And they put together a great football program the last couple of years, obviously winning back-to-back titles.
Yep.
And then just so happened to see on the news that they're going to the White House, first Division II team ever to do it.
Yeah.
Come on. That's
awesome.
pretty sweet.
That's awesome. They should do that for more.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you can't bring the Division III winner there every year, but throw these guys some bones. Bring them to the White House.
Maybe, but I mean, I think it is extra special because it's the back-to-back champs. Like, you did it twice. That's even more of an occasion to bring you to the White House.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't have done this if they hadn't done back-to-back.
So,
all right. we'd like to thank a lot of people.
Oh my God.
This being our 300th episode.
How many pages of thank yous you got here? Good Lord.
No, it's but there have been a lot of people
pages.
over the last almost 6 years now that have been on our show and helped us out in different ways. I want to start out with my son Aaron. He co-hosted one of the podcasts when I was at Disney World, so he sat in with you.
Yeah, he
I
sat
think
with
you
me.
let him speak a little bit.
He was on our podcast after we did the Pat Tillman run. So he did 2 shows with us.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we recorded that out in Arizona. We didn't have 3 microphones, so we just kind of passed the microphones back and forth.
Not great audio quality that day either.
It wasn't very good, but so he's been on our show. Appreciate him. My son Abram, the youngest son, he filled in for you when you were gone one time.
I listened to that god awful show on the airplane home.
We had a great time. He came up with some great stuff on comic book superheroes that played football, whatever. And NFL Super Pro was the guy. I think it was like 6 episodes. He did a great job talking about that. So I want to thank him. On that particular show, my son-in-law Kyle also did the intro for the 2 of us. He made a big deal about Abram being on the show, which I thought was hysterical. So I want to thank him. People that we've interviewed on the show, our very first one a few years ago was Tim Capper of Arena Fan. And that was a great interview. We still are in contact with Tim. He corrects us every now and then if we say something wrong, especially if it's about his Montreal Alouettes. He's been a season ticket holder there for many years.
He was at that game, so he had a lot of fun at that game.
So Tim Capper has been on our show. Tim Lester has been on our show. The former Western Michigan head coach. He was a quarterback in the XFL for the Chicago Enforcers.
Former quarterback for Western Michigan as well.
Yes, and former head coach. They got rid of him last year. I don't know why. He's been doing some pretty good things and kind of had a down year last year, and they decided to go in a different direction. And he's now with who's he with now?
I don't recall.
Green Bay Packers.
Oh.
He got picked up as an assistant coach with the Green Bay Packers. So, Tim Lester was on the show. That was during the pandemic that we talked to him.
You talked to him.
He was at his house and we were here. But another guy was Paul Artali, a friend of mine through Toastmasters International. And he was also a Canadian college football player, despite him being handicapped, shall we say. His arms are a little shorter than most people. He doesn't have all of his fingers, but he's a great speaker. He loves football, and he played college football for the University of Toronto, I believe it was. And he actually got a letter saying that he was eligible for the CFL draft because of the number of games that he played in the CFL. So it was just awesome. And he talks about his football days in some of his speeches and whatnot. So Paul Artali was on our show. Brett Green, Hollywood actor, producer, and writer. He's been in such shows like Jane the Virgin and The Inspectors. He graduated from Western Michigan, and he was on our show during the pandemic. I interviewed him from his house out in California, and he and I used to sit next to each other in the press box for the Kalamazoo Explosion games in the Continental Indoor Football League for a year or two. And while I was talking to him, I showed him a few things. I had some programs that actually had his picture because he was like the PR director for the team. And so there was a picture of him, and he goes, "Can you send me that?" And I scanned it and sent it out to him. And so he appreciated that. Sparky McEwen, we interviewed one time. He talked so long, we had to make it a 2-part show.
We did.
But it was great.
He was a great
memories.
interview. Yeah.
He started out as a quarterback for the Rampage in their first season. He became their offensive coordinator, later head coach, and I went on to coach the Oklahoma City Yard Dogs, and at the AF2 level and at the AFL level. And right now he's the head coach at Davenport College in Grand Rapids. So his whole career, other than going to Oklahoma City, all the teams that he's coached have been in the Grand Rapids area. So it was great connecting with him again. And finally, Ron Snyder, author of the book The Baltimore Stallions, A Brief Brilliant History of the CFL Championship Franchise. We got to talk to him one day. I think he was sitting in his car when we did the Skype interview. But That was a great interview, a lot of fun. I remember that team very distinctly, so he was on our show. We haven't done a whole lot of interviews since then. It's been a couple of years since we've done one.
It's something we've been talking about getting back into. We just got to line them up.
Yep, you're looking into some different software from what we've used before, so maybe we'll
Yep, I got some stuff ready to go.
Do a few interviews in the years to come. Okay, moving on to today's birthdays. A big one for today, June 13th. Red Grange, Harold Red Grange, also known as the Galloping Ghost and the Wheaton Iceman, born on this date in 1903. He passed away in 1991 at the age of 87. He played his college football at Illinois, and he scored 4 touchdowns in the first 12 minutes of a game against Michigan, which broke their 27-game winning streak. After that, Grantland Rice was the one that gave him the Galloping Ghost nickname in an article that he wrote. He signed with George Halas and the Chicago Bears the day after his last college game in 1925, and right after that, they went on an 18-game barnstorming tour across the country. His agent, C.C. Pyle, wanted to become a part owner in the Bears after that barnstorming tour, and Halas flat out refused, and so he said, "Fine, I'm taking my star player, and we're going to form our own league." So they formed a league called the American Football League, and he took Grange with him. Grange was the star of the New York Yankees team in 1926. The AFL didn't do very good, and after one season they folded. They wanted back in the NFL, and the NFL brought the Yankees into the NFL as an NFL team in 1927, but they were a traveling team only, so they had no home stadium, so that way all the other teams would benefit from fans coming to see the great Red Grange play against their home team. So that was a genius move on their part, I think. Let's see. So after that, he returned to the Bears from 27 to 34. He won 2 NFL titles in 1932 and 1933. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1963, and he was present for the coin toss of Super Bowl 12 in 1978. There have been a couple of great books written about Red Grange. One of them is by Gary Andrew Poole, which I've read, The Galloping Ghost, Red Grange, an American Football Legend. And the other one is written by Chris Willis from the NFL Films. He's their chief researcher, I believe. Red Grange, The Life and Legacy of the NFL's First Superstar. So, yeah, if you're looking to read up on Red Grange, a couple of great books right there. I've read all 3 of these books. They're all fantastic. Okay, obituaries. We have one obituary this week. In fact, this one just came out today, so I didn't think we were going to have any obituaries this week, but we do have one. Jim Turner, a kicker in the NFL and the American Football League for 16 seasons, has passed away at the age of 82. Turner played college football at Utah State and was selected in the 19th round of the 1963 NFL Draft by the Washington Redskins. However, he ended up signing with the New York Jets in 1964 and played for the team from 1964 to 1970. He won Super Bowl III as a member of the Jets. He finished his playing career with the Denver Broncos from 1971 to 1979, where he played in Super Bowl XII. Turner was inducted into the Denver Broncos Ring of Fame in 1988. All right. So, I know you had your phone on over there. Have you seen anything pop up?
They've not announced the Hard Knocks team yet.
Okay.
We're still waiting.
Okay. Well, let's move on into our history lesson this week. And, of course, our history lesson centers around the number 300.
It's like an episode of Sesame Street.
There are currently 3 NFL head coaches who have eclipsed the 300 win mark. The first to do so was George Halas of the Chicago Bears. He earned his first win in the NFL with the Decatur Staleys in 1920, when he was both a head coach and a player. The Staleys won their first 2 games of the 1920 season against non-NFL teams, the Moline Universal Tractors and the Kewanee Woolworths, respectively. The Staleys improved to 3-0 with a win over their first NFL opponent, the Rock Island Independents, on October 17, 1920, by the score of 7-0. As I researched Halas's 300th win, I came across several articles that all said that it occurred during the 1965 season, but that was it. I could not find a date or an opponent for the historic game. After a few days of searching online and through a few books on Halas that I have, I finally came up with absolutely nothing. So I did the only thing that I could think of. I went to ProFootballReference.com and Halas's last season as a head coach, which was in 1967. I knew that he had 318 regular season wins, plus another 6 postseason wins, for a grand total of 324 wins. So with that information, I began counting backwards. By the process of elimination, I came up with October 24th, 1965 as the date of his 300th win. On that day, the Bears won 38-10, defeating, of all teams, the Detroit Lions. For some inexplicable reason, there was simply no coverage of the milestone event at the time that I could find. The second NFL head coach to reach the 300-win plateau was Don Shula of the Miami Dolphins. He got his first win in the NFL as the head coach of the Baltimore Colts in 1963. 28 years later to the day, he got win number 300 on September 22, 1991. The Dolphins defeated the Green Bay Packers in Miami 16-13. Unlike Halas, there was a great deal of coverage of his 300th win. Bill Belichick is the third NFL head coach to win 300 games. He got his first win as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns in 1991 over the New England Patriots. Number 300 came on October 27, 2019, when Belichick's Patriots defeated the Browns by the score of 27-13. Again, lots of coverage on this milestone win. Currently, Halas, Shula, and Belichick are the only 3 head coaches with over 300 total wins in the NFL, including playoffs. Shula has the most with 347, Belichick has 329, and Halas has 324. A number of college football coaches also have won over 300 games. They include Amos Alonzo Stagg with 314 at the University of Chicago and the College of the Pacific, as well as Glenn Pop Warner with 319 wins at Stanford, Cornell, Temple, Pittsburgh, and the Carlisle Indian School. There is also Alabama's Paul Bear Bryant with 323 wins, and Florida State's Bobby Bowden with 377 wins. A few coaches have even topped 400 wins. Grambling's Eddie Robinson had 408 wins, and Penn State's Joe Paterno had 409. However, the king of all college football head coaches is Division III's John Gallardi with 489 wins at St. John's University in Minnesota and at Carroll College in Montana. Winning 300 career games as a head coach, regardless of the level of football, is an awesome accomplishment. But how are football fans supposed to know about it if no one writes about it or makes a video about it?
So yeah, 300 episodes. I can't believe it. We did it.
Yeah.
The show's over, guys. We did it. 300 episodes and done.
This episode should be episode 305 because we took 5 weeks off over the last almost 6 years.
Well, I also hate to break it to you, but you've already kind of admitted to it, but this is actually only episode 299 for both of us. We've had 300 episodes of this podcast, and you and I have each only done 299.
Don't give it.
I'm just saying. You missed one, I missed one. We're both at 299.
Yes, but we have both been involved in 300 episodes, so there you go.
I wasn't involved in the one I wasn't here for. You weren't even involved in the one
I was involved in that one,
for.
and you were involved in the one that I was.
How so?
Because you hosted it when I wasn't here.
Yeah.
So therefore,
but that's still my
one
episode.
One of us has been present for all 300 episodes.
Still 299 apiece. I'm just saying.
Do the math.
Next week will be our 300th episode, technically.
We're not going to do this again.
Well, we're not doing this
again.
again.
This was a one-time shot.
The show has lasted 300 episodes, but for you and me, it's only our 299. Yeah. So we're on the precipice of 300 next week.
I told you I had a couple other run-ins with the number 300 this past week.
Oh gosh, here we go.
I was driving down
the road. Was it in the fortune cookie?
No, I was driving down a road that I'd never been to before going to a store, and I passed by a house, and the house number was 300.
Oh my God!
On
what are
the
the
mailbox. And there was something called ESPN 300 that I saw a link for, and evidently that was some sort of a link to the top 300 high school players in the country or whatever. So yeah, a couple of little run-ins with the number 300.
Wow. I have not been so lucky to have a run-in with the number 300. Other than the Blu-ray 300.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's
or
go.
300, Rise of an Empire, the sequel.
Oh.
So
there was 2 300s?
yeah, there were 2 300s.
That doesn't make any sense. All right, moving on to this week's upcoming events calendar. Saturday, June 17th, that's this coming Saturday, Champions Indoor Football Championship game between the Salina Liberty and the Omaha Beef.
That should be a good game.
Saturday, July 1st, the USFL Championship game in Canton, Ohio. Thursday, August 3rd, the Pro Football Hall of Fame game in Canton between the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets. Tuesday, August 15th, is going to be our 6th anniversary show. So
Wow.
we've got another milestone coming up here in a couple
6
weeks.
years with this, man. This is usually where the sitcom needs to introduce, like,
6 seasons on a movie.
oh, thank you for the community reference. You know, I often tell my father I love him, but I think I mean it today when I say I love you after that reference.
Community? I like Community. You watch
Dude,
much?
what?
You like
Since when?
Yeah, I do. I've liked
Whoa,
Community.
no.
They had many great episodes.
You have talked so much smack. You do not like The Office. You
I do
talk
not
crap
like The
about
Office. Nope.
You talk crap about Community. You never understood it.
Well, I learned to like it.
You learned to like it, but you won't give The Office a chance.
No.
What other shows have I made you watch that you don't care for? Ted Lasso, you won't give a shot.
No, I didn't
Gosh,
Ted
you're
Lasso.
so terrible. You at least got into It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
That one. Trying to think what else I've gotten you to watch. Peacemaker. Game of Thrones you eventually got into.
Hey, if it's action adventure or superhero stuff, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Your taste is all over the map. Like, man, you'll even watch some crap right now that I can't even stand. Some CW nonsense.
Oh yeah, Gotham Knights.
Yeah, that got canceled, by the way.
They're all getting canceled.
No, Superman and Lois coming back for season 4, baby.
I like that one.
I like that one too.
All right, continuing with
Just
our
a couple of nerds here.
upcoming events calendar. Saturday, August 26th, FBS College Football Week 0. Navy versus Notre Dame in Dublin, Ireland, as well as 6 other games that particular weekend to kind of kick off the college football season. And finally, on our upcoming events calendar, Thursday, September 7th, the NFL regular season begins with our Detroit Lions going to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs.
And I'll be in a field
man,
somewhere watching this game on the cell phone.
That's going to be an awesome game.
Gosh, I can't
I
wait.
hope they can win.
Man.
That's going to set the tone for the whole season
It
for our
will.
team, I think.
Yep.
If we play well and just barely lose, that's fine. But boy, we better not get run out of the stadium. Okay, anything else that you want to talk about?
I mean, how much time we got?
Well, I want to talk about the neon sign behind you. We didn't
Yeah.
mention that yet. We just got that up last week. Had it since Christmas. Finally got
We've
it
had
up
it
on the
for
wall.
a few weeks now. We just haven't had it on camera.
Yeah. But that's a new addition to that wall. We're kind of doing that entire wall. I got a few more pictures I want to put up. I got it framed for the Groucho Marx picture that I want to put
For
up.
those of you listening to the audio only podcast, this is probably not interesting to you at all.
Yeah, go watch the video on YouTube. But yeah, so
I do feel like I should be having a beer. I was almost going to grab a beer and bring that over and have that with the podcast today.
No, you're fine.
I mean,
All
for all
right.
you know, I could be drinking a beer right now. I got a USFL koozie. You can't tell what it is. It's a Zevia.
All right. If there's nothing else, then let's bring the show to a close. Our 300th
We're good.
episode.
Wow, our
All
300th closing. How are we going to screw up this end?
I don't know.
We'll find out. Let's go.
Well, that's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we have done our job. Visit our website at theworldofffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldofffootball.com.
You can also like The World of Football at Facebook. Go to facebook.com/TWOF Kalamazoo. You can also follow us on Twitter. The address there is @TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast to hear us in your ear holes. You can also find the full audio version of this podcast on our YouTube channel, except for maybe this week. We might as well just put the video up and not have to do an audio-only version on YouTube this week.
I think we should do both.
Think we should do both?
I think we should do
All right,
both.
then maybe we'll end up doing both. Just more work for me. He doesn't care.
I don't care.
He doesn't. You can also search YouTube for the World of Football Kalamazoo to find that YouTube channel we just mentioned, or use the handle youtube.com/@theworldoffootball. So please spread the word, subscribe, rate, review, give us a like, comment. We love interacting with everybody. A guy threw out a suggestion on a video that's a few months old, but if they were ever bring a team to Ohio, calling them the Ohio Pilots. Like, that's a cool name for a team. That would be a really good name. So keep them coming. We love coming across you guys' suggestions and ideas. Let us know what you think, and please come be a part of the football conversation. And I got nothing.
And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than the two of us. Until next time, when we'll try and do a better job, and you would think that after 300 episodes, we'd be doing a better job than what we are.
I mean, when you've only done 299 episodes,
and
when I've only done 299 episodes, I mean, no wonder we're still not on top of our 300 game. So, just saying.
I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm Adam Snow.
And we'll see you next time.
See, you didn't have to get weird at the end.
You make it weird all the time.
Oh. Thanks.